Good morning. Several of you gave me some feedback before Christmas break about ways I could improve my videos. And a couple of you said that they could be a little more interesting. So today's video will include some memes. I hope you enjoy. What you should learn watching this video is finding percent of a number. Please actually work instead of pretending to work when I walk by. To find percent of a number, you need to consider two things. One, the word of can be turned into a multiplication sign. And when you multiply, you've probably never seen multiplying by a percent, but we know that you can simply change percents to decimals. So if you would rewrite this after changing your percent to a decimal and changing of to a multiplication symbol, that simply becomes 0.7 times 800. And it's just a multiplication problem. So if I would do 800 times 0.7, 7 times 0, 7 times 0, 7 times 8 is 56. There is one number after the decimal, so I move it back, which gives an answer of 560. There are actually two ways to find percent of a number. You can always stick with changing up to multiplication and changing your percent to a decimal and multiplying. It works every time. However, there might be a shorter, more efficient way if it makes sense to you. And that's turning your percent into a fraction. So if you look at 50%, some of you may know that 50% is the equivalent of 1/2. So if you would change that to 1/2 and think of half of 20, you might be able to do that mentally. Half of 20 is 10. If you want to do it with changing it to a decimal, you simply change 50% to a decimal and you get 0.5. Of becomes multiplying times 20. So you would take 20 times 0.5, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 2 is 10, and you would move that decimal back one place and get an answer of 10. Either way, you get the same answer of 10. The second example is 40% of 60. 40% is a part, so you're looking for that part of 60. Well, again, you could change this to a fraction. 40% as a fraction is 40 over 100. You could simplify that to be 4/10. So you could take 4/10 of, which means times, the number 60, which is 60 over 1. And then you can follow all of those shortcuts for when you multiply fractions. Remember, you can cancel numbers on the top and bottom. So maybe you see that 10 can go into 10 once and into 60 6 times. And then you could just multiply across the top, 4 times 6, which is 24. And then you have 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is 24. So that's changing it to a fraction, which isn't too bad. Or you can take your 40%, move the decimal back 2 places, and get 0.4 as a decimal. You change the word of to a multiplication symbol times 60. So 60 times 0.4, 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 6 is 24. You bring it back one place, and you get an answer of 24. Same answer, both ways. If you are not sure if using a fraction is beneficial, or if you're ever in doubt, just simply change it to decimals and multiply. So here are 2 more examples that I am going to solve using the decimal method. 27% of 120. So simply move the decimal back 2 places to get a decimal of 0.27. Change of to multiplication, so times 120. So off to the side, I'm going to do 120 times 0.27. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 2 is 14, so I carry the 1. 7 times 1 plus 1 is 8. Remember your placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 1 is 2. Last step is adding. So I get 3240. There are 2 place values behind a decimal, so I move it back 2 times. So my answer is 32.4. That 0 at the end is not necessary, but would be okay. Second example, 49% of 150. I'm going to change 49% to a decimal, which would be 0.49. Of becomes multiplying 150. So I multiply 150 times 0.49, sorry about that. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 5 is 45, so I carry the 4. Then you have 9 times 1 plus 4 is 13. Don't forget your placeholder. Then you have 4 times 0, which is 0. 4 times 5, which is 20, so I carry my I carry my 2. And then 4 times 1 plus 2 is 6. Then you need to add it up, so I have 0, 5, 3, 7. I have 2 numbers after the decimal, so I move my decimal back 2 places, and I get a total of 73.5. Now, look at your number and try to make sense of this. 49% is really close to 50%, and 50% is half. So you want to look and ask yourself, is 73.5 close to half of 150? Well, half of 150 is 75, so you know that you're in the ballpark. And remember, just keep learning.